A question I'm asked most often is who has the best oxygen absorber? And there is an answer to this question, and I'd like to explain how I came up with the answer. And basically it's called the water test. And this is where I get a jar, and in most cases I use a 1-quart mason jar. I use mason jars because I have so many, because I do a lot of canning. Well, I take an oxygen absorber and I tape it to the bottom of the jar. I then take a shallow dish of colored water, and in this case we're going to use the color red. Well, I know that a 1-quart jar holds 945 cc's, and I also know that the atmosphere contains 21% of oxygen, and if I take 945 times 0.21, I come up with a magic number of 198 cc's. So if I put 198 cc's inside this mason jar and I mark the jar, I know how far the water has to travel up the jar to consume 21% of the oxygen that's going to be in the jar. Well, the jar is then placed inside the water, and because the atmospheric pressure is going to be the same inside as it is outside, the water will not enter into the jar because the atmospheric pressure is going to be the same. Now, once exposed to the atmosphere, the oxygen absorber is going to start oxidizing the oxygen that's going to be inside the jar, and as it does, it's going to create a void, and this water is going to come in to replace the void created by the missing oxygen. And once it comes up to this line right here, the oxidation of the oxygen absorber is going to stop because there's no more oxygen inside. And so once this jar is taken out of the water and the air is replaced back inside, this is going to continue. So once this test is done over and over again, we can measure how many times water is sucked up into the jar, and we can actually track this and measure it to see how many cc's of water is drawn up into the jar, and that also equals how many cc's of oxygen our oxygen absorber will absorb. I hope you can understand how this water test actually works. Now, with that being said, let's go to the results. I have focused my testing on 9 different companies. These 9 companies are probably the most prominent on the web. And through my testing, I have tried to focus on the 300 cc oxygen absorbers. 300 cc's because these are the oxygen absorbers most recommended for the 1-gallon storage bags. Now, as a disclaimer, I should let it be known that this is a snapshot in time. Out of the millions and millions of oxygen absorbers manufactured by these different companies, I only sampled just a few. And if the distribution companies happen to change their suppliers, then this information would no longer be valid. So this is a snapshot of my testing over the last year. All 9 different companies were tested exactly the same under the same conditions. Control testing was also conducted, but control testing made no difference in the outcome of the tests. Leading the way in the test results is the LDS Church Distribution. This is part of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. For the 300 cc rated oxygen absorber, the total uptake from the water test was 1,358 cc's. This by far was the best results I received from any of the oxygen absorber tests. The second best was Vacuum Sealers Unlimited at 971, and then Discount Mylar at 890, and you can see as it goes down the line all the other results. The lowest result was the oxygen absorber from Wallaby, and it should be noted that the Wallaby oxygen absorber was rated at 400 cc, but in the 2 tests I performed, the average came up to be 232. I also added other information concerning the oxygen absorber test. The weight right here is the total weight of each oxygen absorber. The iron is the amount of how much powdered iron contained inside each packet in grams, and the other is other ingredients contained within the packet. I also have the country of origin, and then here I have the unit cost per oxygen absorber. The last column contains miscellaneous notes. Now, although I focused on the 300 cc oxygen absorbers, there were 3 companies that did not carry a 300 cc oxygen absorbers. One was Walmart, which was a HomeSense brand, carried a 500 cc oxygen absorber, and in my test it was only able to pick up 599. Amazon had a company called FullSeal that carried a 500 oxygen absorber, and it was only able to produce 242. Wallaby had a 400 cc oxygen absorber, and it was only able to pick up 232 cc's. If we go to the cost per oxygen absorber, there's one thing to remember. Prices do not include shipping charges. So take a look at PacFresh USA. Their rated oxygen absorber was for 300 cc, but yet they were able to pick up more than double the amount at 646. But yet they're only 10 cents per oxygen absorber, but their oxygen absorbers only come in a 1,000 count pack. The Church Distribution Center comes in second at 12 cents per oxygen absorber, but registration is required to purchase from them. They are a nonprofit, but you do not need to be a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to purchase from them. If you want to purchase from Pleasant Grove Farm, you will not find them under that domain. You need to come over to topmylar.com, and they require a $15 minimum order, and they are 18 cents. I should also note that these prices are of August 20th, 2023. Wallaby, once again, was rated as a 400 cc oxygen absorber, but yet they only were able to take up 232. Now, if you're a Wallaby fan or you work for Wallaby and you feel like you got a bum deal, well, send me some more oxygen absorbers. I'd be more than happy to retest any of the people that appear on this chart. Discount Mylar also carries the Fresh Us brand, but they only sell in a 100 count pack. Harvest Right is no longer in the 300 cc oxygen absorber business. They're no longer available. They've moved to a 700 cc oxygen absorber only. Walmart HomeSense is no longer available, but they do have multiple vendors that sell other brands. Amazon FullSeal is no longer available. But remember, when taking a look at all these prices per unit, shipping charges do not apply. So before you end up falling in love with the first girl you kiss, you need to make sure you add shipping charges into your unit cost to get the actual true unit cost. With all this said, I hope this has been helpful for all those out there who are thinking about buying oxygen absorbers. Oxygen absorbers are not all the same. What it really comes down to is going to be the amount of powdered iron inside the oxygen absorber. Powdered iron is what makes oxygen absorbers work. The more powdered iron in the oxygen absorber, the better they will work, as long as the powdered iron has not been corrupted or contaminated. So I hope you found this little video helpful. It's up to you as the purchaser to do your due diligence to finding out the true cost of an oxygen absorber by finding the unit price and then adding in the shipping charges. So thank you for your time. I hope this has been helpful to you. And as always, go forth and freeze dry the world, and please subscribe.